great. I think the cool thing about that is just you felt the energy in the room, the amount of women sitting in there and so passionate about being a leader in their space, whether it was sport, whether it's business, whatever it is. I think that was what's so cool about it. And obviously getting to sit next to Annika on stage is pretty special for myself. So,
It's almost ironic. The WNBA kept telling Caitlin Clark to just focus on basketball and to stay in her role, like she was supposed to simply be grateful for a seat at the table. But then she picks up a golf club, just casually, and suddenly the world is watching her all over again. No promotional push, no league spotlight, no hype machine. She just stepped onto the course, took a swing, and the entire environment shifted. Fans leaned over the ropes. Players paused mid-warm-up. The attention wasn't shared. It centered on her. And somewhere in the WNBA offices, Cathy Engelbert had to be watching, thinking, perfect. Now she's becoming a star in another sport too. Because here's the truth the league never wanted to say out loud. Caitlin Clark doesn't get attention because she's in the WNBA. The WNBA gets attention because Caitlin Clark is there. And when that spotlight follows her into golf, that's when the panic begins. When Caitlin stepped onto the tee box at the LPGA Pro Am, the energy shifted instantly. People expected something cute, something light, a rookie moment, a polite swing, applause, done. But her posture said something else entirely. Her stance, her focus, the calm. There was real intent in it. She came to compete. And when she connected with the ball, you could hear the difference, a clean, crisp crack that made heads turn. The ball didn't just fly. It tracked. Straight. Confident. Controlled. Pros paused. Spectators murmured. You could see that universal athletic reaction. Oh, she's not here for photos. And that's the moment the conversation changed. Because Caitlin wasn't playing like a guest. She was performing like an athlete who could excel anywhere she chooses. Her presence didn't just draw attention, it commanded it. Not because of a marketing push or a storyline, but because she is the draw. And when your spotlight travels with you no matter the sport, that isn't just impressive, that's leverage. The LPGA recognized that instantly, which is why they did something the WNBA still hasn't learned how to do. They leaned into her star power. They didn't tiptoe. They didn't worry about overshadowing anyone. They didn't balance attention. They paired her with Nelly Korda, the #1 golfer in the world. That was no coincidence. That was the intention. The LPGA wasn't threatened by her spotlight. They welcomed it. Crowds didn't just gather. They formed entire corridors along the fairway. Shoulder to shoulder. The energy was real, organic, and electric. And the biggest difference? The LPGA didn't try to diminish her. They didn't try to teach her a lesson. They didn't try to spread the attention around. They said, "We have a superstar. Let's showcase her." Meanwhile, the WNBA acted like her popularity was a problem to be solved instead of an opportunity to grow. Caitlin didn't enter the league quietly. She arrived with the most hype the WNBA had seen in decades. Record-breaking ratings. Sold-out arenas. Merch flying off shelves. Cities that had never packed a WNBA stadium suddenly looked like it was playoff basketball. She brought a wave, and instead of riding it, the league pretended the ocean was calm. From day one, veteran players were physical with her. And not competitive physical, targeted physical. Cheap shots. Late hits. Full court harassment. And the league stayed silent. No statements. No fines. No public support for the face of their league. Meanwhile, pundits pushed the narrative that Caitlin's popularity was overrated, her fans were casuals, and the hype wasn't real. All while every building she entered instantly sold out. It wasn't just mishandling. It was denial. The league had a cultural phenomenon in its hands, and they treated it like an inconvenience. Caitlin didn't complain. She didn't lash out. She just kept hooping. But fans noticed. Sponsors noticed. Executives noticed. So when Caitlin walked into another sport and the LPGA said, "Welcome. We're glad you're here," the difference was deafening. And that difference sent Cathy Engelbert into full panic mode. Because while Caitlin was lighting up the fairway, Cathy was somewhere staring at numbers, projections, and emails with subject lines like, "We need to discuss optics. Because when the LPGA's broadcast numbers jumped, when attendance spiked, when highlight clips went viral, not because of golf, but because Caitlin Clark showed up, it hit Kathy like a surprise salary cap audit. Caitlin Clark's star power does not belong to the WNBA. It belongs to the public. And nothing terrifies a commissioner more than realizing the audience doesn't need your league to follow your biggest star. Sponsors began asking dangerous questions. Can we activate Caitlin without the WNBA? Can we build dual sport campaigns? Should we shift the budget toward golf? And that's when the real fear set in. Because the league hasn't just been using Caitlin's star power. They've been dependent on it. And dependency without control? That's every commissioner's nightmare. Suddenly, Kathy's entire balance the spotlight strategy looked less like leadership and more like fear. Fear of a future where the biggest revenue generator the league has ever had doesn't actually need the league. Meanwhile, in the golf world, Caitlin was being treated like she belonged there. And that matters more than people think. On the course, she wasn't a target. She wasn't a storyline. She wasn't the rookie being told to earn it. She was an athlete among athletes. Nelly Korda didn't treat her like a threat. She treated her like a partner, someone who elevated the moment. Players laughed with her, gave her pointers, and welcomed her into their world. No jealousy. No side eye. No prove yourself. It was respect, immediately and naturally. And you could see the difference on Caitlin's face, her posture, and her ease. She finally looked like someone who could breathe. Compare that to the WNBA season, where every game felt like a trial. Hard fouls, dismissive commentary, constant undermining. In golf, she didn't have to justify her presence. She didn't have to shrink herself to make others comfortable. She was allowed to shine. And athletes never forget where they feel valued. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get bigger, they did. Because then came the invitation from Michael Jordan. Not just a legend, not just the greatest basketball player ever, but the blueprint for turning athletic excellence into generational influence. Jordan invited Caitlin to Grove 23, his private course, the meeting ground for champions, investors, and power players. The LPGA event was a spotlight. Grove 23 is the boardroom. You don't get invited there because you're trending. You get invited because you matter. Jordan saw what the WNBA refused to acknowledge. Caitlin Clark isn't just an elite scorer. She's a cultural force. And he didn't just play golf with her. He talked to her about longevity, brand control, and ownership of her image. And somewhere, Kathy Engelbert had to be whispering to her staff, "She's slipping away." Because when Michael Jordan validates your trajectory, you don't stay small. And businesses notice too. Caitlin's crossover impact sent a message every sponsor understands instantly. She is not a league-created star. She is a consumer-created star. And when the public creates the star, the league is forced to keep up, not the other way around. Nike, golf brands, marketing agencies, event organizers, all started discussing multi-sport branding. Not Caitlin Clark, WNBA guard, but Caitlin Clark, global sports figure. That's Serena territory, Tiger territory, Naomi Osaka territory. And the WNBA didn't build that. Caitlin did, which means she can take it anywhere. And that's when sponsors asked the most dangerous question of all. What happens if Caitlin spends more time in golf? The answer is simple. The audience follows her, not the league, her. And suddenly one rivalry began to look very different. Because while Caitlin was expanding her universe, someone else was watching closely and reacting emotionally. Angel Reese didn't need a microphone to respond. You could see it in her timing, her tone, and the way she kept inserting herself into moments that had nothing to do with her. While Caitlin was building relationships with legends, Angel was watching shadows, measuring attention, trying to keep pace in a race she wasn't trained for. That's the difference. Caitlin builds quietly. Angel reacts loudly. Caitlin elevates every space she enters. Angel keeps asking why she isn't the center of it. One is rising. One is hanging on. And Angel is talented. She's competitive. She's marketable. But she's not Caitlin. Nobody denies Angel Reese is popular. But there's a difference between being popular and being undeniable. Caitlin Clark is undeniable, not because of media hype, not because of marketing narratives, but because crowds react to her instantly. No prompting, no promotion. It's automatic. Angel wants respect. Caitlin attracts it. That's why one gets invited to Grove 23, and the other gets caught online reacting to it. And that leads to the truth Cathy Engelbert is now forced to face, whether she likes it or not. There are stars in sports. There are icons. And then there are drivers. Drivers don't just play in a league. They make the league orbit around them. Caitlin Clark is a driver. The WNBA's attendance spike? Caitlin. Record-breaking TV ratings? Caitlin. The sudden sellouts in arenas that were half empty for years? Caitlin. The merch boom? The flood of new fans? The national buzz? All Caitlin. She didn't rise because of the WNBA system. The WNBA rose because she entered it. And that is exactly the situation Cathy Engelbert hoped to avoid. Because when one player becomes the engine, the league needs that player far more than that player needs the league. And now everyone sees it. Fans, sponsors, executives, and Caitlin herself. She doesn't have to leave the WNBA to prove her power. All she has to do is show up in another sport, and the spotlight walks in with her. So the real question becomes, what does Caitlin Clark do next? Her return to golf this year isn't a hobby. It's positioning for brand expansion, for ownership-level influence, for a multi-sport legacy only a handful of athletes ever reach. And here's the key. She must reconnect directly with the fans who carried her from Iowa to the pros. Not through marketing campaigns. Not through press conferences. Through presence, the smile, the joy, the accessibility, and the signature thank you she gives every kid behind the ropes. Because Caitlin's power isn't just athletic, it's relational. People don't just watch Caitlin Clark. They feel included when they watch Caitlin Clark. That's why she will outlast hype cycles, media narratives, league politics, and every petty rivalry thrown her way. As long as she keeps showing up for the fans, they will follow her anywhere: basketball, golf, appearances, endorsements, whatever path she chooses. And now the WNBA has two choices: evolve with her or fall behind her. Because Caitlin Clark isn't staying in anyone's lane.